Hello children, in this video we will be doing unit 3.6. The name of the lesson is Think Before You Speak. So after listening to this name of the lesson only, you might have understood what it might be. So let's see some of the hard words which I have underlined in this paragraph. The first one is endowed, which means provided or given. The second word underlined is amends, which means make up for the wrong that has been done. So children, in this lesson, the author, is trying to explain to us that why do we need to think before we speak. So let us see what is there in this paragraph. Man was meant to listen more and talk less. So this author is trying to tell us that we as humans were made to listen more, to hear more rather than talk. That is why he says that this great British statesman, his name is Benjamin Disraeli, he said that is why that man has 2 ears and 1 mouth. But still we as humans, we talk more and listen less. Instead of listening, we only do the work of talking and talking. He would have 2 mouths and only 1 ear. So this statesman, Benjamin Disraeli, says that if we had to talk more, then we would have had 2 mouths, right? But now we are having only 1 mouth and 2 ears. So we should talk less and listen more to people. Listen to their problems instead of just talking and talking. Imagine how we would have looked. So he is saying that if we would have had 2 mouths on both the sides and 1 ear, and that ear also which looked like a funnel, the big funnel from which we can put liquids into the bottles and all, and which would be open every time. So just imagine if our face had 1 ear right in the center of our forehead and 2 mouths at both the sides. So how we would have been looking like? Just like an alien, right? So he tells us to imagine ourselves. So instead of using our mouth more, we need to use our ears more to listen to people. There is no door with which you can close them. Whereas if you have to speak even one single word, that word must pass through 2 walls. So this author is trying to say that if we had ears like that funnel, then we wouldn't have been able to close those ears because it would have been widely open. And he also says that whenever we want to open our mouth, the words have to pass through something. That is 2 walls and 2 fences. What are fences? Fences are those which we build outside our houses, right? So that dogs or robbers may not come in, in order to protect our property. So what are those fences and walls? In our mouth, we have 2 things. One is the teeth, which helps us, and even the lips. So before the word comes out of our mouth, it has to pass through our teeth, which is the strongest one, and then our lips. It has to pierce. Pierce means what? It has to tear through both these walls, and then it has to come out. Therefore, we must think at least twice before we utter a word. There was a very wise man who remarked something. He says that the unspoken word, you are a master of the spoken word. You are a slave. So he says, this wise man says, the word which you have not said at all, you have the master of it. Why? Because no one has heard what you want to say. But as soon as you say it, or as soon as you remove that word out of your mouth, it is already gone. The damage is done. You say, how many times ever you say sorry to that person will not listen to you. That person will get angry on you. So once you have spoken, the words cannot come back. There are things you want to say but remain unsaid. So unspoken words means what? Those kind of words which you have thought about it but you have not said it. So you have a control over that words. But once you have said those words, you do not have any control because the other person has already heard those words or sentences. A young man, so now what the author is trying to say, that there is a young man who went to a spiritual teacher. Okay, a spiritual teacher is like a counselor, and said that he had told or spoken very harsh words or very bad words to his friend. Because he was very angry, he said very unkind words to his friends, because of which his friend was very hurt, very deeply hurt. Now this man who has gone to his teacher, this young man, he is scared, he is afraid that he might lose his friendship with him. And he tells this teacher that how can he make amends, how can he make everything proper. So this wise teacher who is there, he says that he tells him to take out a blank paper, okay, or just empty paper and a pen, and he said to the young man to write down on that paper whatever bad things he told to his friend. Okay, he told him to remove one empty paper and a pen and to jot down whatever bad things he told his friend. So the young man did as the teacher told him and he wrote everything. Now the teacher told him to tear that paper into very, very small pieces. Okay, so now the young man tore that paper into hundreds of tiny bits of paper. Okay, very tiny bits, he tore it into it. And the teacher told him to throw that bits of paper out of that window. And so the young man did it as the teacher said. Now that day was very windy, means there was a lot of breeze that was coming and going. So because of which the paper, tiny bits of paper which that young man threw outside the window just scattered away. Scattered means what? Just went away here and there, everywhere because of the wind. Next, the teacher ordered the young man to go and collect all the pieces of paper that he just threw out of the window. Now this young man was taken aback. Taken aback means what? It means surprised. He was shocked. Okay, like how can he just go out and collect those tiny pieces of paper, and especially when it is so windy outside, so much of breeze is there, it's impossible. So he told the teacher, he stammered means what? He couldn't speak properly. He told the teacher that it is very difficult, how can I go and bring everything, so it's very difficult. So the teacher suggested him that at least go and try and bring some pieces of paper of which you have thrown outside the window. So the young man went out, and as he returned half an hour later, okay, he came back half an hour later, he was very tired. Exhausted means very tired. He kept on searching for those pieces of paper. He had not been able to get even one piece of that torn paper. He could not get even one bit of that paper. He was very sad. So this is an example. The teacher explains that this is an example. This is what happens when you speak badly. Okay, this happens when you remove those unspoken words and make it into a spoken word. So once you have spoken the words very aloud to that person, it becomes very difficult to take those words back, because you have already told anything that you wanted from your mouth. Okay, so because of which it becomes very difficult to take those words back. Therefore, learn to think before you speak in anger. So always when you are angry, you need to think first and then only open your mouth. Now there is this wise man which was there in history, ancient world. Okay, his name was Socrates. He had written many poems, many wise things. He was a very good man. Now, many people were influenced. Influence means what? Many people were inspired by all the good work that Socrates had done. Socrates had many disciples. There were many followers whom he had. And he counseled them very nicely. Counseled means what? Advised them, guided them. And what was the thing that he guided his followers or his disciples? It was to keep their mouths closed or shut. He told them to speak only when it is absolutely necessary. Only when it is, like compulsory to speak, only then you speak. Otherwise, keep it shut. There are some lines which he has written. O wise one, how may we know when it is right to speak? They asked him. So his followers or his disciples had asked Socrates one question. It is that they are asking his his for this Socrates, that when should they open their mouth? Okay, when should they speak? What is the right time to speak? So Socrates answered them saying, open your mouth to speak only after you have asked yourself 3 questions. So he's saying that if you want to open your mouth to speak, you need to ask yourself 3 questions. Let's see what are those. And he says, and if you receive a affirmative means what? A positive thing, okay, then only you need to open your mouth, and received an affirmative answer to each of these 3 questions. If you feel that everything is positive after asking yourself these 3 questions, then only you need to open your mouth. So let us see what are these 3 questions. So the first one from this 3 question is that we must ask ourselves before we speak, that is it true? Whatever we have heard when we talk or when we gossip about people, do we think that whatever news or whatever rumor we know, is it true? Or are we just spreading all rumors, all fake things about people? Because if we spread fake things about people, then we are damaging their image, we are damaging their character. So if we are not sure about the veracity means what? About the truth. If we do not know, if we have just heard it from someone, then we need to stop. We need to stop spreading that news. What we are saying, it is better that we do not utter a word. When we utter words carelessly, we ourselves become transmitters of truth. What is the meaning of transmitters of truth? It means the people who spread false things, the people who spread untruth things. So that is why we need to think and see if whatever we know, whatever news we know, is it true? The second question that we need to ask ourselves is it pleasant? Many are the empty remarks and vain statements that people make in idleness. So whenever he says that, is it pleasant or is it correct to talk about people behind their backs? So whenever people gossip behind people, so what happens when we do not have any work, when we are empty? Idleness means what? When we do not have any work. So people mostly go and gossip about people's things, they hurt others, they talk bad things about others. So it is better that these unpleasant words are unspoken. So it is better that we do not speak at all, rather than speaking all rubbish about people behind their back and gossiping about them. The third one, the last question, according to Socrates, what is it? He says that is it useful? Whatever we are opening our mouth for, okay, when we are speaking to people or when we are talking about others, is it useful? Why are we wasting our energy? He asks, we should ask ourselves that is it useful when I'm speaking about others? So, is our statement going to benefit the listener, whoever is listening to me? Is it going to, have any advantage on the person who is listening to me? Will our words bring comfort to someone? We need to ask ourselves that instead of hurting others, we need to bring comfort to someone. So whatever word I'm bringing out of my mouth, is it bringing any comfort to that other person who is listening to me? Are we likely to help someone with what we say? This is the next question we need to ask ourselves. And also, only in that case should we go ahead and speak. So these are the 3 questions that we need to ask ourselves before opening our mouths. Otherwise, we will only speak bad things about people and hurt others and ruin our friendship with everyone. So children, with this we complete with the explanation for the lesson, think before you speak. Thank you.